round about 20% of your income should be put towards other things. Don't, wherever you are right now, if you're taking home 5k a month, put 20% of that towards investing in a bigger, better business, because you might be kidding yourself right now that you don't want a business and you're happy to spend time in the treatment room seeing all the patients because you think it's wonderful and your ego is in play and you really enjoy working with patients. That's fine, but everybody wakes up one day thinking, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, and that's the problem that you get.
The question is, we are wondering how and when to pay ourselves, what is a good structure to have, and what systems should be in place to grow our business but also to put food on the table at home.
Okay, great question. Big mistake that most small business owners make is that when they start their business, they're obsessed with making every penny count in terms of see a patient, bank money, spend money, and it goes on rent, it goes on food, it goes on, obviously creating the life that you deserve after you've been through school and you've racked up 100k in debt or whatever it has been to get you to where you want to be. But something happens at the beginning which I would give this piece of advice to a small business owner just getting started. In the beginning, you don't really have the aspiration to grow and build this huge company. You're just so obsessed with getting, for example, 20 or 30 patients a week into your practice, and building a business isn't really on the agenda. You're a small practitioner in the beginning, happy to take home $5 grand a month, 10 grand a month, or whatever it will be. But what starts to happen is you get obsessed with the dollars. So the effort that you're putting in, you kind of feel as though you want that money out and you want to be able to spend it on your family, and that's completely fine. But what happens, and I've seen this happen and it happened to myself, is that you get to a point after about 5 years where you don't want to be the guy who works 20, 30, 40, 50 patients a week and is in there 50, 60 hours. You want to actually own a business. So there's a difference between being a solo practitioner and even having a one-person staff. That's not a business, okay? That is just you have a job. A business owner is somebody who makes the same amount of money whether they're there or they're not, okay? So it's a big differentiation. But usually what happens is in the physical therapy industry, people build and build and build, and they get to 50, 60 patients a week, making a nice income, but working very hard for it. And the day comes where literally most people wake up and they're like, I want to make the same money, but I don't want to have to do this amount of work to do it. So I want to start to employ people. Again, completely fine, the journey that most business owners in our industry will take. I took that myself. But then what happens is, because life has got in the way, and we've got the mortgage, we've got the kids, we've got the dog, you've got the car, you've got the lifestyle, you've got the hotels, the 5-star accommodation, etc., that you have been able to afford because you've been earning good money as a solo practitioner. Now, what gets in the way of growth is when the practitioner doesn't want to take that cut that invariably has to happen, because we can't get money off the banks that easy. We don't get angel investors, we don't get people buying into our practices as easily. So where do we find the money for growth? To be able to bring new staff in to replace ourselves, for marketing, to train, to maybe move to new premises, to build bigger and better systems within that practice. It usually comes from the owner having to take a cut. Not something that a lot of people want to do. To put this into context, I took a 6-figure pay cut for 2 years. 6-figure pay cut for 2 years when I got to the point where I realized that I didn't have any more time in my life, and I wanted to still be able to make the same money in my business but not have to be there all the time. As I speak to you now, I'm in Phoenix right now. I have a business that runs and works without me with 14 staff, and people look at it and think that it's a great business, and it is. But what I had to do to get it to that point was to be able to find the money and create the time to be able to put systems in place to be able to grow that business. And I found that money by taking a cut. Okay, I took a pretty big pay cut, and I used the same money to be able to bring in more staff, to be able to buy better software, to be able to invest in my marketing and business education. And that's something that I think a lot of business owners don't want to do, and they never face up to it, and they will agonize over that decision for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years before it gets so painful that then they just do it, okay? So my message is, if there is a way, a mathematical way that I can help you, round about 20% of your income should be put towards other things. don't, wherever you are right now, if you're taking home 5k a month, put 20% of that towards investing in a bigger, better business, because you might be kidding yourself right now that you don't want a business and you're happy to spend time in the treatment room seeing all the patients because you think it's wonderful and your ego is in play and you really enjoy working with patients. That's fine, but everybody wakes up one day thinking, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, and that's the problem that you get. Round about 5 to 10 years in, you're stuck because you've trapped yourself in a financial or a certain way of living, and you're not able to come down and take that pay cut of $1,000 or $2,000 a month to be able to hire somebody in or hire time or just free up some time and say no to patients for a day or two so that you can build systems in your business. So around about 20% of your income should go towards stuff that is learning, is new. Be prepared for things to go wrong, to make mistakes, to be put out there for marketing that doesn't work. And be happy that that's happened, because it's progress. And if you're always living just beneath whatever you're taking, it will be a lot easier that day when you are wanting to employ staff, or you are wanting to move into more automated marketing systems for which you will need money for. If you're constantly seeing Mr. and Mrs. Smith 8 to 10 hours a day, you're making good money, that's great. But there is no room to grow there, and unfortunately you've got to come down more often than not before you come back up. So I hope that answers the question. Set your stall out wherever you are in business right now to the fact that you will have to take either a huge bank loan to bring people in, or take a pay cut, whichever one you sit most comfortably with. I sat in the camp of being able to take a big pay cut. I kept what I needed. I put my ego aside. I didn't buy big houses. I didn't buy stuff that I didn't particularly need at that time, because I had one eye on building a business, a real business that would fuel a lifestyle for me, that would allow me to save, make the same level of money, whether I'm in that country, whether I'm in that clinic, or whether I'm not. This is where I would try and encourage everybody, and I did listen to the call. It was cool the way you handled it. I think what could have happened was like a 10 or 20% increase in just authority and energy and absolute taking charge of that situation, okay? Because that lady is nervous, she's tentative, she's making bad decisions, she has no clue what's going on, she's indecisive, she's like not in a great place. If she rings a clinic up and not quite sure whether we're free or whether we're NHS or whether we're private, imagine the nervousness and skeptical feelings that she's having. Then to be told she has to pay, she's immediately on the back foot. So I think sometimes when you come across people like that, you really help them out by like stepping up.
Right, okay.
And actually becoming even more authoritative and more commanding and more powerful. Not disrespectful or arrogant, but stepping up to help them. Because there's nothing worse than when you ring somebody up, you're nervous, they're nervous, and it's like between the two of you, the whole thing just becomes like an absolute mess that goes, I'll call you back, okay, bye. And then it's like, God, thank God that one's over. Wow, hope we don't get another one of them. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So for you, it becomes a case of, right, I recognise the fact that you're nervous and you're indecisive. You've made a massive like misjudgment in what we are as a business, which is fine. Like that happens. And if that guy's gone away as a husband and said, this is a cool place, even better, it's free. Holy shit, I love some of that. Yeah, that's essentially what's going on.
Yeah,
that's what's going on. It's just the other reason why I'm not massively keen on the free referrals, the medical agencies and stuff, because in the eyes of the consumer, it's free. They don't pay for it, they're not committing, they're not adding to it. Yeah. There is no real value in it. It just can be a case of, I went there and I got it paid for, it was free, it was absolutely amazing. Well, of course it was, because it was fucking free. You know, everything is better when it's free, isn't it? So you'd have a great time on the bus if it was free. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is the best thing in the world, like a free bus ride. You know, like when the council announced free bus ride. Cool. Like even parking when it's free, it's just like you have an amazing experience all of a sudden. But that's what I'm saying. You take something that's just like so mundane and so like whatever, and you go in the shopping centre and it's like, it's free on a Sunday, and all of a sudden, like when you can't find a car parking space, you're not asked anymore because it's free. It's like, this is cool. But like when you're looking for a car parking space and you can't, and then you know you've got to pay 70 pence, it's like, I have to pay for this. Same thing. So that same decision making process is going on with the patient, and I think where I would have gone with that call is just go up. You have to like take control, and you almost have to say, right, listen, I know where you are right now in the world, and I'm going to take you into my care, and my care means me stepping up, sounding more confident, more authoritative, and just doing something that I can help you with that necessarily doesn't mean an appointment at the practice. It might be that you meet them where they are and just say, hey, you know, if you want it free, the best thing that you can do is go to your doctor. But what I know will happen is that you'll go to the doctors and you'll get a referral, and it'll probably take 12 weeks for you to get seen. So If the decision is now, do I wait for 2 weeks? Why don't we book an appointment for 2 weeks' time? How does Sammy get paid? Employee, contractor? Well, she's a full-time employee of my business. I'll tell you exactly how it works. So she's the head physical therapist at my practice, fully contracted to my business. But I basically recognize I love to let my staff like do their own thing. I'm very happy to encourage them to do other things. So I basically work time in her schedule that she could go and set up her own Pilates classes. I knew it would be great for the business. I don't want any money from that. Like I don't need to make money from a Pilates class because I'm more happy for Sammy to be entrepreneurial and doing her own thing and doing the things that she loves and getting more benefit out of kind of the relationship that she has with me in the business that way than taking like $50 or $100 out of every class. It just is not. It's not going to make us. It's not going to make the difference in my business that the relationship I now have with Sammy as a result of that. I don't want the money. I want the relationship with Sammy, and I want her to know that she has an amazing opportunity in my practice, but she can also express herself doing the things that she wants. Therefore, she's not going to get frustrated and whatever else every time she goes to do a Pilates class, thinking I should be making more money out of this because I'm the one doing all the hard work. So it's just a logical decision that the long-term best interest of that relationship with Sammy for me is I'll give you the people that you need. That keeps you happy, and you get to love what you do, and I'll help you as best I can with the marketing of it. But I also know I get to keep one of the best physical therapists like in the country at my practice for longer, or like forever, hopefully. And that's not worth $100. Like I don't want $100 for that. She's worth way more to me that way. But I also know I get 1 or 2 patients coming back because she's a great advocate for the business, and because of that like relationship that we had at the beginning, it was like, hey, if I can get I'm happy for you to sort of extract patients from the business to put into your Pilates class. We promote it for you with emails, etc. Then if those people bring their friends to classes and they hurt their back, just send them back to the clinic, which is what she does. So I make a lot more money that way, and I have a better business as a result of that adult conversation than I want like 40% of your class, like way above that, way above that in terms of how I run a business. And she's worth that. I recognize her as a long-term investment in my business, like hopefully for life. She trains all my staff and physios and blah blah blah, and keeps her very happy. Hey guys, Paul here. So I'm currently sat in the Phoenix downtown Sheraton Phoenix, and spent the last 3 or 4 days in this area, obviously being at Icon all week. Hope you're enjoying the clips and some of the footage that we've shared with you across the last few days. Last night was one of the best, most pivotal nights of my journey, I would say, that I'm on right now. My journey being to obviously started my life as a professional soccer physical therapist, moved into business, built my business, built my organisation, brought my staff on board, and ultimately set off on a new journey, which has obviously brought me now to America and spending much of my time with my family here in the US, teaching small business owners how to grow their practices, to enjoy their journey, to enjoy their lifestyle, and ultimately to be able to run more successful businesses. And what happened last night was pretty pivotal. I wanted to share it with you. I was sat around a table with around about 12 people in the Sheraton Hotel last night, and it hit me that when I came here last year, I came here exactly 11 months ago, so less than a year, I was sat here in the Sheraton on my own. I jumped onto a flight and did regularly. I used to come to the US, I used to book flights that would take me here for 3, 4, 5 days on my own. I'd literally leave my house, get in a taxi, jump on a flight, get to the conference hall, maybe would talk to 1 or 2 people and try to network, but I'm not a great networker. I don't really like to do that sort of thing, rightly or wrongly. It's just something that I'm not very good at, and I don't really enjoy doing. So I would often come to these conferences and I'd just letting. I would come and I'd bring my books, I'd have a beer before bed and maybe a bite to eat in the bar, and that would be pretty much it. I'd head back home and I'd take what I'd learned and I'd implement it into my practice, which was fine and good, but I'd often be quite, you come on your own, it's a little bit fearful, you feel a little bit vulnerable, you fly in 3, 4, 5,000 miles, you come into a completely different country, you don't really know anybody. So 11 months ago I used to do this all on my own, and last night I sat around a table with 12 people from all over the world, physical therapists from all across the US, people like Jared Carter, people like Julie Doctor, Judy Carello, Andrew Vertson, and on that table with me was Amy, obviously my marketing assistant. I had James Ashford, who contributes hugely to my business's success and also to the coaching program success, and just other great people from Infusionsoft, Smart Business Minds. And I couldn't help but think about how in such a short period of time life is kind of gone 360, where now I'm not just arriving at these events for conferences and content. I'm here for community. I'm generally coming now to feel and experience the community that, if you're part of my Facebook group and the community that I'm building in there, it's a really cool, it's probably the fastest growing community of physical therapists, and everybody's helping each other, everybody's contributing, we're all on calls on a weekly basis. But there's nothing better than being together, and we can have a beer, we have a glass of wine together, we were sharing stories and really getting to know each other, and it feels really, really real, and it feels special, and it feels magical. And one of my favourite sayings in business and in life, in fact, one of my favourite sayings in life is, you don't join the dots up looking forward, you can only join the dots up looking backwards. And what that means is sometimes you just have to take a risk. So every time I jump on, or certainly at the beginning when I jumped on these planes, and I didn't really know what I was getting into when I was studying all this direct marketing and business advice here in the US, long way from home, long way away from my family. Used to come here on my own. Obviously now I travel with my boy and my family. But back then it was pretty scary to be able to do this type of thing, So joining the dots up looking back now, there are so many people's lives have been impacted by that one decision for me to get on a flight however many months ago and come and figure out how to work out how to help small physical therapy businesses here in the US. So I've moved away from arriving at these events on my own, and a little bit, not quite sure what I'm doing here, a little bit vulnerable, a little bit frightened of what, have I made the right decision, have I invested my money wisely, etc., to now literally looking at my schedule and my calendar, looking at how, when can I get the next conference, and how many more people can I meet, and how many more great physical therapists can I spend a few days with and really get to know, and just share our stories of what's going on in business and also in life. So my message, somebody somewhere has to take a risk to be ultra successful in life. Sometimes you have to just trust in the process, just have to trust that you join the dots up looking back. And if you're always stood there waiting for something good to happen and not prepared to make that big decision, chances are it never will. Just trust in the process, believe in what you're about, who you are, what your goal is, and what you're trying to achieve. And often what happens is usually something which is way bigger than you could ever have dreamed of or ever expected actually unfolds in front of you. In less than 11 months, I've built one of the biggest coaching programs in the US. I've got literally now 70-80 physical therapists that I'm working with on a daily and sometimes daily, often weekly basis. 11 months ago I knew nobody, so it's been a pretty wild ride. It's one I'm ecstatic to be able to share with people, and my message today is that wherever you are right now, you're probably one decision away from starting that process for yourself, whether it is a better lifestyle, whether it's better business, whether it's more time with family, whatever it will be. But you've got to make that decision, you've got to take that risk, you've got to start something without any guarantee of it being successful. And those people are the most successful people in businesses. The ones who can just start something without any absolute guarantee of being successful are usually the ones in business who win.